And to make this more fun, Kurt, we're each going to get one preemptory challenge.
He ends up being a strategic genius.
You're out of challenges, my friend. You have been neutered.
And if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye.
There are very few people who have had a bigger impact on life in the 20th and 21st century.
She simply was awesome.
Do you realize that since you've already used your preemptory challenge, I could invite Wilson, the volleyball, from Castaway, and there'd be nothing that you could do about it?
Hello, everyone. All of our great listeners. This is another freewheeling, soul-healing, ace of cards dealing episode of Smart Drivel. I'm your host, Kurt Schneider, with my other host,
Jon Ellenthal.
So, John, before we start this, can I just say something?
Please.
Today marks the first day of the best 4 months of the year for me.
I think I know why.
For the next 4 months, I am a year younger than you, you old fart.
You're not a year younger than I am, Kurt. Your age is one number younger. You will always be 4 months younger. So you don't magically become a year younger because my
but
age
when I
changed.
in casual conversation, I can tell people, and when I mention my age versus yours, mine comes across as 1 year less. Anyway, John.
There's no question about it. I do want to point out, though, that I was done being the age that you and I were yesterday, and I'm happy to be my new age. You're not ready yet.
Wow, how meta is that of you? This is good for you. This old age has not made you senile. It's made you more
old age. You just called an age. You're going to be yourself in 4 months, old age. So the die is cast. So, Kurt, let's talk about today's podcast episode. Do you want to introduce the topic, and then I will customize it for how we plan to use it?
Yes, please. I think you and I talked about it would be fun to have a conversation about who we would like to have at a dinner party for us.
Yeah, so everyone knows about the classic question, if you could have dinner with three people from history, who would it be? And you get a bunch of Abraham Lincolns and Jesus Christ and all sorts of very worthy dinner mates.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Certainly, those kind of folks make the list. But rather than having a dinner that we each would have with three guests from history, you and I are going to curate a dinner party together, which means we're going to ultimately have to agree on how to round out the group around the table. And to make this more fun, Kurt, we're each going to get one preemptory challenge, like you're making a jury. If you come up with a name and I am unmoved by your rationale or by having that person at our dinner party, I am going to use my preemptory challenge. That person will not be there. And you, of course, can do the same to me.
Love it. How many people are we shooting for?
Why don't we shoot for 8 to 10 guests, and we'll see how many we fit in.
Okay. Can I go first?
How could I stop you?
And can you not use your preemptory challenge?
No, there's no side deals here, but I will take that under advisement.
I'll let you go first. Okay. So this is someone that I've always wanted to have dinner with and speak to. He is my older son's hero and has been his hero for over 15 years. So I've heard a lot about this guy. John, the Marquis de Lafayette. May I make my case?
Yes. Is this the same Lafayette that was featured in Hamilton?
Yes, it would be, of course, because it's the same guy around the same time. So here's why I think this guy would be fascinating. At 17, and this is just from my memory, so I'm sure fact checkers will get some of these dates or facts wrong or say that I have them wrong. But at 17 years old, he gives up being an aristocrat in France, gives up his title, stows away on a boat, takes all of his money, pays passage or stows away on a boat, comes to America, 17 years old, John, and presents himself like he's representing France, which he was not because they didn't know he was going for a while, to General George Washington. He then works his way to become such an amazing aide-de-camp to Washington that Washington promotes him through the ranks. He becomes a general in the U.S. The colonial army at the time. He gets France involved and gets their navy and their money involved. He ends up being a strategic genius. he actually gets Cornwallis and fights at Yorktown. He gets Cornwallis somehow in a bad situation. I think he tricked him by thinking people were coming from the north. And not only does he help win the war because he gets France in, and he's fighting as well in great strategy, he then comes back for like a victory lap as the oldest living American general from the American Revolution in 1825. And as part of this, he collects earth from the U.S. because he says, even though I'm going to be buried in France, I want to be buried in the earth of America.
So are we having a dinner party, or is this podcast about Marquis de Lafayette?
And the last thing I'm going to say is we liked him so much that in World War I, General Pershing, when he landed in France, said, Lafayette, we are here. And if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, I will not be this long about everyone. I've always wanted to meet this guy. So that's it.
Look, I would not deny you a lifelong goal like that, even though the guy's French, but largely because he played a pivotal role in the American Revolution. And that is something we all benefit from. I don't know when he went back to France and played his role in the French Revolution that the Americans reciprocated as much as they probably promised to at the time. But I'm sure you could but if I was wrong with that statement, you'd be the one to tell me. In any event, so other than the fact that he's French, I think we take him in.
Good.
And since he spent so much time in the U.S., I don't think we're going to have a language barrier, which was a concern. So I think you're
Chateauneuf de Pape.
Yeah, and I assume aide de camp was actually a French term that he insisted on when he was part of Washington's kitchen cabinet. All right, so I think your overdeveloped sense of history, your history muscle may work against you here because there are so many fabulous people who we know about to talk about. I'm going to focus on someone who is not well known.
Challenge.
You're probably going to want to wait until I actually say the person's name.
Challenge. Okay.
And you're probably going to want to know that I'm going to put up a patsy here so that you waste your peremptory challenge, and then I have free range the rest of the episode. I would like to invite Vinko Bogataj to our dinner party. Kurt, do you know who Vinko Bogataj is?
I have no idea.
The sad part is you actually do know who Vinko Bogataj is. You just didn't know him by name until this moment. He played a prominent role in the world of pop culture during our youth. Did you ever watch ABC Wide World of Sports?
Yes, is he the guy?
Hang on. Jim McKay, he would do Spanning the Globe, and he would talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And as he talked about the agony of defeat, a Slovenian ski jumper crashes at the end of the ramp, and he became the personification. His brand was the agony of defeat. His name, Vinko Bogataj. I would like Vinko to tell us about what it's been like to live as the enduring image of the agony of defeat for generations of Americans.
Well, we don't know what he did afterwards. Boy, do I want to use my challenge.
Feel free, Kurt. Just bear in mind, I am vindictive.
Okay, I will tell you, I love that idea. I just think it's like some of these new movies that come out and they have one little premise and they try to stretch that gimmick into a 2-hour movie.
Okay, I know he doesn't have the same romantic je ne sais quoi
I think we
Marquis de Lafayette.
We have 2 questions for him, and he's a 1-note Johnny. He's done. Sorry, playing my card.
Wow. All right, fair enough. Okay, so Vinko Bogataj will not be. So I think I should go again then.
I do. Yes.
All right.
Challenge.
You can't. You're out of challenges, my friend.
Okay.
You have been neutered.
Okay.
Private Russell Pickett. Do you know who Private Russell Pickett is, Kurt?
Yes, I do.
He will definitely be coming to our dinner party on account of the fact that you can't stop him from being there. So
Was
it
he
sounds
the guy
like
in Pickett's charge at Gettysburg?
No, but he does have a similar type story. So Russell Pickett was actually in Company A, what's been later referred to as the suicide wave at Normandy. Wow. He was part of the first group of American soldiers to take the beach. They had a 96% casualty rate in the first hour.
Yeah.
And so he was in the 116th Infantry, and he was the flamethrower. His job was to crawl on his belly across the beach, cut some wires that would allow the Americans to get access to a battery of German gunners and take them out. Unfortunately, as history now knows, the American bombing raids to soften up the German defenses before the Normandy invasion did not work. In any event, so Russell Pickett was one of the very few of his company to survive that battle. He was in a boat that hit a mine. He was dazed and confused, dumped into the water. The tide carried him down the beach a little bit. He was able to make it to the beach so he didn't drown. He has felt guilt for 75 years about having not been able to perform his duty on that mission. But the people who stormed the beach at Normandy, that first group, what was going on in their minds when they were approaching the beach and they saw what they were about to face? Those guys, I would like to have dinner with Russell Pickett.
I love it. I don't know how you know about him, but I think that's fantastic.
I know about him because I had the chance to visit Normandy in Omaha Beach a couple of years ago, and it's something I always wanted to do. And it's impossible to do anything but stand on this beach and imagine what was going on there.
Especially when you get to the part where the Army Rangers had to go straight up the cliff and they just shot straight down at them.
Right. That was Pontohawk, just a few miles west, I think, of Omaha Beach. Incredible story.
Yeah.
225 Army Rangers arrived at the base, 75, which is a lot. We're still alive 24 hours later.
All right.
The sacrifice is extraordinary. I would like to honor their sacrifice by having Russell Pickett at our dinner.
Love it. Done. Okay. Now,
go ahead. Your turn.
Well,
Challenge.
I think we need a little levity. Okay. I would love to have at our dinner Tigger.
I love Tigger.
Yeah.
And I love Winnie the Pooh.
T-I-double-G-R. The head is made of the rubber. The tail is made of the spring. A flouncy, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Fun, 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 fun. The most wonderful things about Tiggers is, I'm the only one. TTFN.
Okay, you can have Tigger there. And I love Winnie the Pooh. In fact, I almost bought, and I missed the moment and I regretted it. I almost bought an original copy of Winnie the Pooh. In fact, when I first met my wife, she'll be embarrassed that I've shared this. When we were in college, I would read her Winnie the Pooh. So you can definitely have Tigger there, but he's going to sit next to Marquis de Lafayette.
Well, I think that would be a hell of a conversation they would have, because Tigger is the only one, and that's kind of a tough thing for him, but he's certainly overcome that with joy.
He seems to be an extrovert, so I think he's probably got good dinner party skills.
I agree.
All right, so we've got 3 guests now. My next, Philo Taylor Farnsworth. What do you say?
Well, I can't challenge. I think it's great.
There are very few people who have had a bigger impact on life in the 20th and 21st century than Philo Taylor Farnsworth.
I agree with you. You mean FTF? PTF?
You know what? PTF as he goes by, according to no one. He was the man who was responsible for inventing the television. He had more than 300 patents related to TVs, and he was able to figure out the first totally electronic TV system for transmitting images. And that was the big breakthrough, because a lot of earlier designs involved mechanics that just didn't happen. And then he got into an epic David and Goliath battle with RCA, which was the big dog, had a near monopoly in radio. And didn't think. And what's even more charming, other than the fact that he contributed something that has shaped American and global life, he had a utopian vision for the invention. He thought that if we were able to see people in other countries and learn about our differences, there would be far misunderstandings and war would be a thing of the past. So I'd like him to be at our dinner party to see what TV has actually done. I think he'll be disappointed by his utopian vision, but he'll have to be gratified that he created an invention that's impacted life so greatly and broad.
What year was this? Do you know?
It was in the 1930s.
So before D-Day. So he and our other guy,
they'll be contemporaries.
Would not only that, but they can decide that maybe war wouldn't have happened, Normandy wouldn't have happened had his vision come true. Okay, I like it. Wow. So these are people I've never even heard of them. Okay. Well,
you see a theme developing?
I would like to invite, because I think we need some XX chromosomes as well. I'd like to invite
please.
Queen Elizabeth, not the second John, not the current one.
Yes, I made that mistake once
Queen
before,
Elizabeth the first. And she simply was awesome. Daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, was not given a chance to rule, had to survive everyone, X out her sister, Mary, who thought she had the right to the throne, goes on to then rule, I want to say, for 40, 50 years of England's, until Queen Victoria, the golden age of England. Yes, there's a lot of wars going on, but
Was that the Elizabethan
Yes,
era?
it was. And she defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588, John.
Yes. But 1588, some people might remember that I got the Norman invasion, which took place in 1066 wrong. I called it 1088, which made Kurt very happy. It was pointed out later that I was probably conflating it with the Spanish Armada off the coast of Ireland in 1588. So thank you for pointing that out.
Not only is she a wonderful military leader and gets everything, but she also increases the arts. She has this good friend she takes into her court or into her area by the name of William Shakespeare and encourages him to become his biggest patron.
Maybe she could bring him along.
She probably could.
Because he would be great.
As her +1.
Do you realize that since you've already used your peremptory challenge, I could invite Wilson, the volleyball, from Castaway, and there'd be nothing that you could do about it. Actually, Tigger would probably enjoy that quite a bit. So Queen Elizabeth is there. I hope we don't have to cater to all of her monarchical, I don't know if that's a word, requirements, like, only green jelly beans or stuff.
As she got older, they became stronger. She was known as the Virgin Queen. She did not have any children, but she was oh so powerful and loved and revered. And probably feared at the same time. Okay, good. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
All right. So I thought of fictional characters, which may seem fiction to some and may feel nonfiction to others. And I don't want Tigger to be alone. I did consider Willy Wonka. I did consider Atticus Finch and James Bond. Wouldn't that be cool to have dinner with James Bond? I considered Forrest Gump. But ultimately, I decided that Yoda would be one of our guests. Now, that may make me sound like one of these Star Wars fans, which is a great thing to be, but I'm not. In fact, I'm not much of a science fiction person either. But Yoda, for Myers-Briggs, anyway, so Myers-Briggs, he has the same type as I do. So whenever they express Myers-Briggs typologies in Star Wars characters, I see Yoda. So I've always felt close to Yoda.
Anyway? That's a different...
Check the internet, Kurt. It's definitely a thing. Anyway, he was the Jedi Master. He trained Obi-Wan and he trained Luke Skywalker, but all about wisdom and power. And some of the greatest quotes because of his speech pattern. Do or do not. There is no try. Who wouldn't want to have dinner with Yoda?
You know what? I love that. Love it. Love it. And
you know what, Kurt? The greatest teacher failure is.
I would put him right next to this next person that I would have.
No, I would put him next to the Queen. I
put him next to this person because, A, they kind of look alike.
Well, the Queen has two sides, Kurt.
I think the guy I was going to come with next, Yoda kind of looks like, and this guy's also known as a sage and for his sayings. I'm talking, of course, about Winston Churchill.
Oh, man.
And don't you think the two of them could go back and forth and have most unbelievable...
I think you're absolutely right that, if you were to put together two people at this dinner party so far who would deeply enjoy and learn from each other's experiences, Winston Churchill really will learn from each other's wisdom, and Yoda would be the two most likely to connect at that level.
Okay, so we got him. So we're up to 7.
I do believe we are underserved in women as guests and underserved with women in leadership positions in the world because the world should be given over to women at this point. I know it's happening, but not fast enough, and men have screwed up things enough.
I do not disagree.
And I came so close. Well, you know what? I hate when people say that, Kurt. That's a pet peeve. Why can't you say you agree? It's like, I don't disagree. I don't hate that idea. What's up with that? Agree. You know what? Yoda wouldn't take that BS. Agree or disagree. There is no I do not hate that.
I'm a New Yorker, and part of being a New Yorker is when something is amazing, you don't say it's amazing. You say, it doesn't suck. The other thing...
Right, but what's worse than having an idea and someone says, I don't hate that idea?
New Yorkers say, if they like something, they say, it could be worse. So, but it's fair enough. You know what?
That reminds me of Young Frankenstein. It could be worse. It could be raining. And the sky's open. Okay,
by the way, Frankenstein had a tough time because... Like Tigger, he was the only one. And that ultimately, I think, did him in because he couldn't find anyone.
I think there were a bunch of things, but he had a happy ending in Young Frankenstein. Yes. He hooked up with, was it Madeline Kahn?
Great.
In any event, I came so close, at the end with that tall hairdo, with the streak in it. I came so close to saying Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I love. So she is bright. She is active. She is down to earth. She's incredibly funny and talented. and I love Veep, and I love all of the characters she's ever been. However, I chose Tina Fey because Tina Fey is many of the same things, and I think I love Tina Fey.
Wow. Okay.
What do you think of Tina Fey?
First of all, I have no more challenges.
I don't have to explain her because everyone knows who she is.
I have no more challenges, but I wouldn't.
You would have considered using your challenge on Tina Fey? I was just
getting that out there. I was qualifying the fact that even if I did have one left, I would not challenge Tina Fey. I think that's...
By the way, Tina Fey barely beat out Harper Lee.
Boy, two different people.
Who in one... Yeah, but we only have a few spots. We had to make tough choices here. I mean, Harper Lee wrote the book that is considered the second most influential book
she ever wrote
in America. Well, she actually wrote another one that came out posthumously. Yeah. But the book she wrote, To Kill a Mockingbird, was actually listed by some credible organization as the second most influential book behind the Bible.
You would have doubled down on that had you had Atticus Finch as well. So that would have been interesting.
Yeah, so they were part of the same circle of influence. But I think we need something contemporary, somebody fun and funny and sharp, a wonderful conversationalist.
Love it.
Okay. Well, who do you got?
I was going to go way back in time and go to Cleopatra, but I decided not to.
But not wanting to be a cliche, you chose somebody else.
Like you, I actually had James Bond on my list. I actually was going to have James Bond and Indiana Jones come together. I thought,
wow, dating or
as just sort of the same person, but different techniques of getting it done. But yeah, I'm going to go with, and these guys, I know it's kind of cheating because they're a triumvirate, but they did something at the same time.
The Three Musketeers?
Something at the same time.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
But no. Charlie Parker, Jackson Pollock, and Jackson Pollock. Did I say Jackson Pollock?
You said Jackson Pollock twice, so you must really want him there.
Kerouac and Charlie Parker.
And what did they do together that makes them a triumvirate?
They basically took the arts and turned it on its ear and did improvisation. So Charlie Parker took music and basically improvised in it, and there was no music sheets that you could follow, and he broke the mold completely, as did Jackson Pollock when he got rid of the object altogether and did his drip paintings.
All right, I'm using my peremptory challenge for a couple of reasons. One, we're running out of time, and number two, you're cheating. You can't have the three of them unless they're going to sit in the same seat. Now, I will tell you, though, Suzanne and I had to go to a costume party that was put on by a local arts museum in Memphis many years ago. And you had to come as your favorite artist or piece of art. So we bought two really large white T-shirts and took paint and threw it all over the place and basically went as Jackson Pollock paintings.
I'd like to see that. Do you still have them? Okay. How about this? Eleanor Roosevelt.
You really are caught up in these really big names, aren't you?
I don't know.
You're just going with the chalk here.
I just think that she was amazing, not because she was the first lady, but because of an amazing human being and what she did, both during World War II and way after. So anyway.
All right. So I'm for it. I'm for Eleanor Roosevelt because she certainly is worthy at I'm
not sure she'd be fun.
Question whether we're worthy. But the other reason I'm okay with it is when I was younger and Trivial Pursuit first came out, whenever I played that game, which I haven't done in a long time, whenever I didn't know the answer, I would say Eleanor Roosevelt. And that never worked, but it always made me feel like I had an answer when I didn't. So I'd like to tell her that.
When it came out, my brother always said Fred Astaire when he didn't know anyone. So there you go. All right, John. So we have our dinner. Let's see who it is.
No. We have more, right?
We go over, but that's fine.
It's so hard. I considered Andy Dufresne, by the way, from Shawshank Redemption. And I had a hard time not inviting Sir Thomas More, someone willing to die for their principles like that. And then later, of course, get sainted and become the patron saint of, politicians. I have it down to two wonderful guests. I'm going to give you both names and you can help me choose. How's that?
Last one, so I'm ready.
Oscar Schindler or Roald Dahl, who not only wrote Willy Wonka, but also wrote Chitty Chitty
and James and the Giant Peach.
And James and the Giant Peach.
Incredibly tall.
And if he were there, we could have like a peach cobbler. So not only did Oscar Schindler save 1,200 Jews from near certain death in the German concentration camps, but as we know from the end of the movie, those 1,200 people went on to spawn, all sorts of children and subsequent generations that are all here on Earth because of all Oscar Schindler. So it's hard to say no to him. but Roald Dahl's brought pleasure to so many people. So as our final guest, Kurt, would you prefer Roald Dahl or Oskar Schindler?
I think for this dinner with the people we have, I would go with Roald Dahl. And I think we need to have another party, and Schindler becomes the first, here's a big joke, on the list.
All right. So tell me some names that didn't make the cut, the honorable mentions, because obviously this is a hard thing to reduce history to 4 guests each.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
A great one. I had on my list, on an early list, Clifton Hillegas. Do you know Clifton Hillegas? You probably have used his products. He was a Nebraskan fellow who is the name behind Cliff Notes. And Cliff Notes, he did not see as a way to bypass the reading and take a shortcut to your education.
Supplement.
He always argued it was supplemental materials, an argument I doubt he won.
All right. So we are out of time today.
Who else made it? Before we wrap this up, I want to hear who else, almost made
Robin
the cut
Williams.
for you. Would have been great. So entertaining as well. I had George de Mestral on my list. We know he is a Swiss engineer who invented Velcro.
I love Velcro.
He was in the mountains of Switzerland, and all these cockleburs were sticking to his pants.
Yes.
And he created Velcro.
Which we cannot live without.
It does seem like we're going to have another party like this because there are so many incredible people that we'd love to get together and meet. So, Kurt, thank you. You want to wrap us up since you sent us out so beautifully?
Well, let's just...
Oh, my God. The hardest one to leave off. In fact, I think he was the first one on my list, and we must have another fake dinner party. Neil Armstrong. I have always been fascinated by the moon landing and being the first human to step on the moon. That must have been the trippiest moment, not on Earth, one of the trippiest moments in human history.
Yeah, I think we probably would get more out of Buzz Aldrin because he's more of a conversationalist.
I've actually spoken to Buzz Aldrin, and he was definitely, he's certainly more cantankerous.
Yes.
Neil was a bit more reserved.
Yes.
All right. On a subsequent episode, I'd like to tell you how the lunar module was down to its reserve tank in fuel and was seconds away from crashing into the surface of the moon until they found a safe place to land amongst all the boulders they were hovering over. But wrap us up, Kurt.
But I think you just told us, so that's great.
I think I may have. Okay,
so,
never mind.
We've had a long one today, but it's okay because this was quite fun to do. We have, I think, 9 or 10 people at our table. We're going to have a wonderful repast. We're going to have something that everyone would like. I'm sure Queen Elizabeth would like some mutton. And, of course, cigars and scotch for Churchill. And that's what we have. And we hope you guys think about any people you'd like at your dinner party. If you have it, let us know. And maybe in the next one, we'll include some of the suggestions from our huge audience of listeners out there.
We should organize a series of virtual dinner parties with people from history. That would be a fun thing to do. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Jon Ellenthal.
And I'm Kurt Schneider. Peace out, everyone.